have the good couch over there, and then you guys said this is the cool couch, but you tricked me onto the bad couch.
Oh, this is the comfy one.
This one is close.
All right, ready? Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Death to the Scene podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Trevor Sullivan. This is your other host, Joe Mongeon, your other host, Baeli Carroll, your other host, Robby Beland, and your other host, Timothy Collins.
Host is a gratuitous word for what I am, but...
You're the guy with the headphones and the can.
The headphones guy.
So I wanted to do a little bit of an inaugural... Is it inaugural if you're not doing it yearly? Does it still count? Mm-hmm. There you go. Joel is my words guy. So inaugural, which is also hard to pronounce, so I'm going to stop saying it, episode of the Death to the Scene podcast. I wanted to do this episode to kind of talk about what, as a group, our goals are, what shows you can expect from the network coming up, and kind of just a little bit of background of all of us, and just see what our interests are in music, but also in what we're trying to build with these shows, and kind of what the philosophy and ethics behind it are. So yeah, do we want to start with the shows, or do you guys want to introduce ourselves first?
We should probably
introduce ourselves.
The show.
Probably
Not the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I think you should, since you're the host.
Oh my god, I'm not the host. I am one of many hosts. But since I'm the one being flamboyant and on the couch right now,
Anyone can do
Let's
that.
get a word count. Oh, I've been crossing my legs this whole time. Let's take a word count so far. Who's talked the most? You're the host.
Is that how we should move into a society where just any election for anything, like I'm talking like managerial positions for like fast food.
Are you talking?
It's just whoever talks the most and loudest.
We live in that society.
I could become the president.
Dude,
We live in a society.
we live in a society. So
That was cool. That was very cool and on topic.
there you go. In there. I'm Trevor Sullivan, if you haven't picked up with that already.
Trevor.
You know. Hi, Trevor. Hope you find your dad.
Bye, Trevor.
Listen.
That was a short podcast. Very cool ending.
Yeah, that's the end. Bye-bye. See you next month.
I play in Bullpup, as Joel also does. But I play in Bullpup. I also have a solo project called Zero at Best that I literally don't touch, but it's an acoustic thing. Bullpup's an emo band. It's got a lot of theater influences. It's just pretty hectic. I am interested in this network and all of these shows that we're going to talk to you about in the hopes that in a world with either some unsafe scenes, some biased scenes, and dying scenes, for lack of being a little too on the nose, that everyone that is making music and everyone that is making art has an equal playing field to be heard. We've created, or are trying to create, a slate of shows so that there is something for everyone from a listener perspective, but also from an artist perspective, so that everyone feels like they can be on one of these shows and represent themselves as themselves, and that you don't need to worry about how big or small you are in our proverbial pond. Who wants to go next?
How do you follow that? You didn't even say what your favorite album is.
I figured we could do that later, but fine. My favorite album is, probably, if you ask me right now, I would say my favorite album is Ugly Organ by Cursive.
Why?
Because it has fundamentally changed how I write music and kind of starting to put more social and political awareness into music.
Nice.
Look it up.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of Cursive, get on it. I picked Joel.
All right, fine. I'll go next.
And then Joel gets to pick who goes after Joel.
That's a shame.
Cool. Ooh, suspense. All right, so my main thing is like folk music and folk rock. I do a lot of my own solo stuff, and I'm in a folk rock band called Grand Honey, kind of based out of Worcester. And what I'm interested in is doing sort of a video series where I can interview artists about songs that they've written, lyrics that they've written, and sort of dive into the meanings behind their content. And out of this, I hope to get a lot of very substantive conversation and sort of help people with their thinking processes and help their audiences understand what goes into writing that content and hopefully promote some discussion about some serious issues that we're facing. And just sort of what does it mean to contemplate art in that way? That's what I'm interested in. So, yeah, my favorite album really depends on the season. It's February right now, so my favorite album is probably The Courage of Others by Midlake.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that for February?
It's primarily like a November through March album for me. It's a really good winter folk album. It's very dark. It helps you. It just makes you feel like you're not alone in your seasonal depression.
We love sad boy vibes.
Yeah. I pick Baeli next.
Oh God, mine is gonna be so much less deep than that. Hi, my name's Baeli. I'm a homeless drummer. I don't know what to tell you. My goal for this is to, this is gonna be so bad and like after Joel. My goal is to keep the local scene fun. A lot of the times when the only thing that happens is just like bands putting out content, it becomes kind of just like a job and less like a fun thing, especially as like a homeless drummer. So I'm basically just like a viewer. So creating a space and content that can be fun and enjoyable in a way to like get to know bands is something that I'm trying to vibe with. My favorite album is probably Wax On's Homework, which is very on brand for me.
Good job.
It was the first local album I had ever heard that like stopped me in my tracks. Mm-hmm. Like I was just like, there's like a trumpet involved. The guy's like screaming his head off. And it was like the first time in my like early-ish days of like being introduced to music that I like was like, all right, this is like an art form.
Before you pick someone, I think it's very important that you don't discount wanting to keep things fun, because I think there's a direct link to that in keeping like spirituality and just any amount of emotion in music and not making it just a corporate thing. And I think that is like one of the most important things, because people don't take it too seriously sometimes.
I also think content-wise, because other forms of like content don't have like the same like amount of turnaround. Like not a lot of bands do like music videos. Not a lot of bands have a platform to do interviews at all. So I imagine that at some point certain bands are just going to be tired of talking about like their music. Mm-hmm. So like creating a like separate thing for them to just, hi, we are this band, and then just exist as people for a little while would be kind of cool. Can I pick now?
Yeah.
Hey.
You're at the wrong camera.
Hey.
Wow, have fun cutting this one.
Hey.
You have to cut each one of these hays.
Wait, are you editing it? Are you editing it?
I'm assuming.
You're doing it? Hey. Hey.
Speaking of which, I'm taking this away from you.
Okay, that's cool.
You keep ruffling it into the microphone.
It sounds really good. Now I have another one.
ASMR. I feel naked now.
Who are you?
Oh yeah, I'm Robby. I don't have a goal. I was just like, I'm just chilling. This sounds cool.
Vibing,
you know?
What do you do, Robby?
What do I do? Oh, I play guitar in Bullpup, Bandicoot, Strawbby, STRAWBBY. Look it up.
Oh my god, there's lots of... Please don't snap into the
Who
microphone.
gave Tim the headphones?
Tim's responsible with them. That's why he has them.
Yeah, don't put me in your microphone. Hey.
What's your favorite album, buddy?
I don't know, maybe Hill Climber by Wolfpack.
Yeah.
Funk.
Yeah, boy.
Tim, you wanna go?
Yeah, sure.
Hey.
Say hi, Tim.
My name's Tim Collins. I play bass in Bullpup and Cherry Brat, and I also do my own solo stuff, and I really have a passion for recording and writing music and stuff like that. And I also think that the history and rationale behind why a lot of the musicians in this area specifically, but also across all time and space, is a very interesting topic. And I think that giving people a voice to be able to tell why they do the things they do is really cool and important, because a lot of the time people are disenfranchised and they don't have that voice. I think that what we have right now in the local, we're in Massachusetts. I don't know if that was obvious enough.
I'm not.
We're right now, currently, we are in Massachusetts.
Oh, I'm physically sitting in
Yes,
Massachusetts.
you're physically sitting in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the scenes we have in the New England area are doing like a really good job of being a community rather than a scene, and that distinction's very important to me. And I love giving that. I really like being a part of a project that gives that voice to people. As far as favorite albums go right now, as Joel said, it is still kind of winter. And every winter and really every season, my favorite album usually becomes Putting the Days to Bed by the Long Winters. But it especially is right now, because I adore that album.
And it's a long winter.
It is.
It's a long winter.
Groundhog said so.
Can I plug a favorite local album?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm really vibing on The Lumberjack by Eleanor Electra. Didn't even know her.
Yes.
So good. Very envious of her finger picking.
There's a lot of cool stuff. You recommended to me and Trevor, we talked about it on the Week Speak, No Sequoia.
Yeah, Sapling, yeah.
Tim's been loving
I've
it.
been listening to that a lot.
They're good friends of mine. And
I really love it. I've
killer.
listened to most of it this morning. I listened to the singles a lot after you recommended it to us. That's like my vein of, I love that kind of riot girly kind of punk, but also it's like noisy when you don't expect it. Okay, now we're doing an album review.
So, you talked about both of our weekly shows that we've already been posting right now.
What a cool transition. Very good job.
Yeah.
Why are you congratulating him? I did it.
Good job, Trevor. I really like your work ethic.
Congrats for setting me up for the alley-oop. So I'm about to dunk this motherfucker. So, poor Joel.
Poor us.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the deal. There have been 3 weekly shows that have already been posting under the Death to the Scene network. Right now, the ones that me and Tim have been doing have been the Week Speak, which is our weekly update, and it has all of the shows and releases for the week and what me and Tim have been listening to and any other important news that's going on. That is almost entirely participation based. If you are a band that is releasing something or has a show, do not be afraid to reach out to us. All of the links to our contact information will be in the descriptions of whatever these end up on. We'll plug all of them at the end of the show, so you'll be able to know how to get in contact with us. But we want nothing more than to find new music, put people in connection with each other, and also just plug. We're here. Ultimately, this show should become not about us at all, and just an ability for other people's voices to be heard. I just kind of want to channel that and make a platform for other people to talk. So that's kind of what the Week Speak is about, just getting everyone's information out in front of everyone and hopefully putting your eyes on something that you might not otherwise see. We have a weekly album review. both of these two shows, both the weekly review and the album review, will be rotating seat. It could be any of us on the couch right now. It could be any of us on the couch right now, either running down the weekly stuff or talking about an album that came out underground that they're passionate and want to talk about. I think it's really, really important that we get different perspectives and different tastes. When I kind of was thinking about this and getting it together, I wanted to get as diverse an interest as possible. I guarantee no one on this couch is listening to identical things as the people next to each other. There's definitely some crossover, but everyone's kind of got their own expertise, and I think that's really, really cool outside of the fact that they are good ethicked and good-hearted people. So there will be album reviews weekly or release reviews weekly. It could be EPs, anything like that, and the weekly news. On top of that, Baeli has a podcast that's weekly. It's called The Agency. And you want to talk about it? It's your show.
So The Agency is marketed as everything that I have ever loved about the local scene. Throwing love back in there. It's a weekly podcast that drops on Mondays. And it has everything from shows that I went to where I thoroughly enjoyed it or something hilarious happened, or EPs that I'm listening to that I feel like I have something interesting to say in regard. Shows that, or EPs that I'm listening to that I feel like I have something interesting to say. I also do a once a month longer podcast where I get down and dirty with some of the bands and God.
Hell yeah.
No. Where I speak very nicely with some of the bands.
That's better.
And get to know them as people and as friends. All the bands I've had on thus far have been like I got invited to a Twin Brook slumber party the other day.
That's really cute.
Yeah,
That's really cute.
It was really wholesome. So just trying to put the wholesome back in, especially as, like I said, somebody that's like mostly a viewer nowadays. A lot of people who just go to shows don't really get to see that side of people if they're not the type to like go interact and be like, oh, like, hi, like my name's like da 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 da. So it's nice too.
That's a cool name.
Da 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 da.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's a family name.
Ooh, is it Germanic?
Wow, you talked about how monthly you want to do the longer form one.
Yeah.
This show, which is the going to be kind of our flagship show, is the Death to the Scene podcast. The idea is that any combination of us is going to have an artist or a group of artists, however many we can get in, and similar vein to The Agency, but we have a lot of structured shows that we're going to talk about a little bit later. This show is kind of meant to be unstructured so that anyone or any group can come in and just be themselves. Whatever that product ends up looking like, if it ends up being really, really silly and off the rails, it'll be completely determined by whoever we bring in. If it ends up being a really, really straightforward interview, completely up to whoever we bring in. We just want to give a really, really sincere look at whatever artist is about. And hopefully in getting to know them and talking about, the stuff they're doing in a really natural and relaxed way that will maybe entice you if you are similar or have similar interests or you like the things they're saying to go and check out their music. It'll be a little bit longer form as well. We're trying to hit the sweet spot between an hour, 2 hours probably for this one. And as of right now, we're aiming for a monthly release for the Death to the Scene podcast. That's subject to change as stuff goes on. Could be more frequent, could be less frequent. We're kind of flying by the seat of our ass right now. This is the first time all 5 of us have been in the same room since we've started this. So
I met Joel today.
Yeah,
Actually.
we're gonna see how it goes. But it's really, really exciting. That being said, we do have a slate of seasonal shows that we're gonna try to do that are a lot more focused. Most of them are taking an intellectual slant, but they're just a more specific thing so that you as a listener or viewer, but also any artist, has a show that they feel comfortable being on. We're hoping to do X amount of week runs for each one, and then when a season of that show ends, it'll be a next season of a different show with hopefully a different host and a completely different vibe. And there'll be a bunch on rotation along with the weekly and monthly shows already there. You'll never run out of content, but you'll also feel like there's always something you can watch or be on, hopefully. I'm going to let everyone pitch their individual seasonal shows because I think that they are best articulated by the people that are passionate about the project. Who wants to go first? We should do it opposite order of how we introduce ourselves.
Okay. Oh, okay. Should I say the name I have for it? Is the name funny enough to warrant being said?
It can also be a working title.
Yeah,
we're allowed to use working titles.
The working title for it right now is "The Influence of My Influence is My Influence."
That's pretty good.
I'm okay with that. I enjoy that.
Well, so there's a lot of musicians in this area, and not even just in this area. There's a lot of underground musicians that I've talked with in the past that have a very strong and clear idea of what their musical inspiration is, and some of them even have a really good idea of what the history of it is. And I want to be able to highlight musical inspiration, influences, and the history of the scenes that have brought the underground music that we listen to today to the forefront. So that's kind of where I'm at. How about you, Robby?
Oh yeah, got a show. It's pretty cool. Not gonna go into the name. Don't got one. But the idea is I'm gonna grab an artist. Probably not a full band, but one or two band members, maybe a solo artist, and meet up with them 4 to 5 times for as long as they can give me for time, and write a song from scratch. And document the whole thing, save drafts of demos, try to write down any interesting talking points we have. We'll get it mixed and mastered and put it all out. And then when it's done, I have a podcast where we go through the whole thing, and I can really get into music theory-wise. Why do they write the way they write? Why are these progressions the way they are? Lyrically, where are the lyrics stemming from? Why did they choose to put it to this style of music? Or this key specifically, as well as just figure out how they work with other people. If they don't normally work with other people, why do they like doing it on their own? Versus if they enjoy doing it with other people. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Phenomenal.
Bailey, what's your show?
So my show, along with The Agency, which is a weekly show, I'm going to have a seasonal show. That seasonal show is going to be a game show. There is not a lot of rigidity in that, besides the fact that it's going to be hilarious, in my opinion.
Very funny so far.
Yeah, I know. This is all I got. I'm not in a band. This is it. This is all I have to offer, guys. But I'm hoping to have bands on and kind of break down the general walls that being a musician comes with. I've had a lot of friends that I have say that when they're in front of audience members, they have to feel like they act like a certain way. Like they're worried about how they act might relate to their band. So rather than being in a position where they have to know all the answers to all the questions and this and that, they can just kind of vibe. So it's going to be a game show. That's exciting.
That sort of like casual atmosphere being created, I think like that's really valuable for a podcast to be able to offer that. And like getting people to break away from like the professional presentation of what their band is and like them as a representative of that entity, I think is really valuable. And so what I've found on the podcast that I currently host, which is called Friday Night Folk.
Look it up.
Look it up. Look it up. All acoustic all the time. Is that, you know, when you get someone to sit down and talk, whether they're talking about like their lyrical content or just how they approach their art or even if we diverge from the art and the music and sort of just talk about everyday issues that might be weighing on us. What I think podcasts can offer is a medium where people can really engage in dialogue and without judgment and without necessarily self-promotion even. They can kind of just...
It's human.
Exist.
Yeah, exist. And there's a word that I'm looking for that I can't find. But just sort of contemplate those issues openly and without judgment and with another person listening. And I think that's really important. And so the show that I'm going to be hosting is kind of stemming off of one of the seasons of Friday Night Folk, which dealt with the meanings behind song lyrics and just talking in a broader sense about how the issues in those lyrics can apply to other people, other situations in our lives, and hopefully how it can influence our art in the future.
Nice. I think it's worth saying, if you haven't listened to The Agency or Friday Night Folk at all yet, obviously The Agency is The Agency. Friday Night Folk, we're going to have essentially a spiritual successor, hopefully with some higher production. We're going to try to really glam it up.
Yeah.
Baeli's show is really, really good at capturing the characteristic of any of these bands and just what their personality is like. Joel's show is so good at capturing the soul and also the intellect and intent behind an artist. And I think those are two almost diametric sides, but also invaluable in their own ways. And I think it's really, really cool that we have that range present for across all the hosts. The last seasonal show that we want to do will most likely be the first show out for our seasonal slating. We're going to be doing a gear show because...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So for y'all that like all your rig rundowns, we thought it'd be really, really cool to try to go out to practice spaces or have people come to us and just, throw a quick mic on a speaker cone, throw it in front of a kid or whatever, and just have people kind of run through their stuff. And I think that there's two valuable parts of it. I think it's interesting to see how people are going to be operating with a rig maybe on a budget, because I think a lot of underground artists are going to be on a budget, and maybe you can learn something from that from someone that's already kind of learned their stuff. The other half is it's just fun. It's just cool to see what other people are using and have cool stuff. So I think we're probably going to find all different ranges of affordable and, kind of self-built to really high effort, really poured upon gear setups. And I want it to be full band. I don't want it to be a premier guitar thing where they only focus on guitars or anything. If there's a keyboard or if there's horns or drums, I want to look into those. So that's kind of the last of the seasonal slate that we have right now. You can probably expect the gear show first. We don't necessarily know what the next seasons are going to be or in what order the shows are going to be, but they will all be out, hopefully with a higher production value than some of the weekly stuff, which is a little bit more informal.
Call my show cheap?
No.
So this is actually a good thing, because if you want to be on, if you're in a band or you're a musician or you're a part of the scene and you want to be highlighted by any of the things we just said, reach out.
Yeah.
If you have a skateboard that you've turned into a pedal board,
I'm looking at you, Roy.
That's
all of them.
Oh my gosh, I saw a band where...
Girl Scout cookies.
No.
No.
I saw a band where the pedal board was actually in a suitcase that was like a real suitcase that she like just folded up and called it day.
Yo.
And I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
If you have a rig that you want us to talk about, if you have like a lot of feelings about your music and you want it to be highlighted by Joel,
Does it have to be about my music? Can I just have a lot of feelings?
if you have a
No,
lot
you're
of,
not allowed.
if you have a game that no one else has ever played and you're like, wow, I really want to play
Foursquare?
horrible 1950s communist Monopoly with Baeli.
I don't know if that's what I'm signing up for.
The Gestapo has found you. Go directly to jail.
The fuck is communist monopoly?
Being with any of the shows, if you're interested, obviously you can drop a comment on any of where you're listening to this. Our Instagram is Death to the Scene Network. Our Twitter is D2, the number 2, TS Network.
What?
So it's just the first letter of everything, and then it's the number 2 instead of 2.
Number.
So it's Death to the Scene.
Death to the Scene.
Yeah,
Network.
because there's a character limit, so I couldn't do the full thing like I could on Instagram.
That's way too long.
And then
Yeah.
2
Very cool.
TS
And then the word network.
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 And then our Facebook is still Death to the Scene Podcast. It might change to Death to the Scene Network. They're being really wacky with me about changing it. So Death to the Scene Podcast or Death to the Scene Network, you'll be able to find it. Reach out to us about being on any of this. Yeah. Any of these shows that you're interested, let us know. Even if it's just the weekly stuff and you just want us to plug your stuff and you don't want to actually come in and record, totally fine. Just let us know. We are here to help you, hopefully. And if there is anything we can do better, or if you want to bully us, I would ask that you specifically point it at me. I'm the punching bag for this.
Fuck them.
Be nice to my friends.
Don't do that.
Be nice to my friends. If you have anything that you want to say, even if it's not constructive, feel free. The whole point is that it's supposed to be a conversation. If you're saying mean things about the bands, be gentle.
I would also...
Trevor's gonna have words.
Baeli first, then me.
I would also argue, if you're not necessarily in a band, but you like a band and want us to check them out and maybe get in contact with them, I wouldn't say that reaching out is exclusively to like band members. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
if you have a band that you would really like to see on a specific show, feel free to let us know, and we will feel free to contact them and see what we can do about that situation.
We want to know about your friends so they can be our friends.
Yes, plug your friends, because a lot of bands won't plug themselves. So
Yeah.
that's my whole job here.
Even if you're in a Poison cover band that exclusively plays at the Loci and Drake It, feel free to reach out. We'll figure something out.
Wow, that's a really deep
Hey,
pull.
is that a real band?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know their name?
I don't know.
That's pretty whack if you plug them and you don't plug them.
Yeah, right?
We'll look it up. I swear to God, me and Tim will figure it out, and you'll find them in the Facebook.
They'll
or
be
their Facebook link.
in the description link down below.
Yeah,
Poison cover band. So
I
that
don't want to be a gatekeeper here, but should we be plugging Poison cover bands?
absolutely not. This is a one-time exclusive offer.
Tim already did that. So now we just have to cover it up. So
We have fun here.
I'm just
He
saying.
can edit this out.
No, we
We'll
can't.
see if he does.
A Poison cover band might have a lot of interesting things to say exclusively about
Wow, I
Poison.
wonder. Wow, I would just like to say that you should have them on your show because I can't imagine what their influences would be.
I work. Here's the thing, Baeli. I work with the guitarist's wife.
Oh, do you really? Is that why you know about them? Okay, so Tim, yeah.
No, we don't need to get into
So sad.
So
I'm so sorry. Tim's friend's wife.
Hey, can you guys name one Poison song?
No.
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 Because my answer's no.
I'm trying to think.
That's a no.
That's a no.
That's a no.
Tim.
Nikki really liked Poison for a while, but
Everything I think is a
Or-
Poison song is probably actually a Motley Crue song.
or
Now-
Def Leppard was what I was
Or
saying.
Def Leppard.
I know that Poison is by Bill Bev DeVoe,
Huh?
but I don't think that's.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
like
the song
what?
I keep thinking of that when I go to Poison. Yeah.
Okay,
That girl is
So,
Poison.
anyways,
None of this is making it.
No, this was important.
the last thing I will say about this network in general. We're trying very, very hard to not make this about us and to try to make this a bigger thing. We're all involved in our own projects.
This isn't making it.
This isn't going to make it.
I'm not involved in anything.
I'm making it about me.
Okay, well, we're all involved in our own things. And
Coolins.
I think that it is a little too self-serving and not what this is about to speak about our own musical endeavors. I am hoping that if any of us chooses to talk about one of the other's project,
Bailey.
yeah, I'm trying not to point fingers.
God, the fingers have been pointed.
If any of our projects come up, it will come from someone else, not our own mouth, and I will hope that if they're being reviewed or anything, it will be as critical and honest as possible. It's important to support your friends, regardless of what I think. I can't stop anyone from talking about each other and trying to help each other out. I think that's important. You will not hear us plug our own stuff. It will not come out of our mouths. I think that's an important precedent to set, and I hope that you as an audience keep us honest on that, because I think that's a very, very important standard to hold when we're trying to help out others.
Hold us to the standard of expanding our network and not being insular.
Yes.
And just
Yeah.
patting each other on the back.
Oh, God, I love
Can I
you.
bully us for a second?
You can bully us.
I love that you started this by saying, "Hi, my name's Trevor and I'm in Bullpup," and then finished it with, "And we're never going to talk about that ever."
That was my one moment.
the
That was my one moment, and that was kind of the point of why I wanted to start it that way too.
That's fair.
Just to kind of get it out of like, yes, we are involved in things, so we have some skin in the game in terms of how everything's going down, but this podcast network is not where that skin's going to be shown. Did you like that?
Are we going to show skin?
That was so weird.
I don't know. You've got the stripped down sessions. You tell me.
Oh, boy.
Does anyone else have any closing statements before I wrap this puppy up?
Do we want to talk about any local music before?
That's a really good point.
Because
Top 3 favorite local things.
Top 3 favorite local things. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Local things.
On the fly.
Yeah, it can be a soloist or a band, either or.
Oh, okay.
Not like a
Don't
give me a
if
tip
you
for
like
this.
a rock, really.
That rock outside was looking pretty scrumptious.
All right. I will say, as of right now, I'm gonna try to mix it up.
Wait, can we rephrase this? Not top 3 favorite, but top 3 that we're going.
Top 3 that you are
right
currently listening to. Yes.
I'm gonna try to pick from different fields so that it is diverse. Matt Minigel, who I'm sure me and Joel will tackle and hogtie and get onto one of these shows eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Matt Minigel, Regime, if you're into heavy stuff, and Coulter. They're coming back, and I need them back. Evan Doherty, I'm looking at you, my man.
Call out.
Call out Coulter.
Call out Coulter.
Okay. I'm going to go with the two acts that I just played a show with last weekend. One is Brian Dickens. Brian Dickens is an awesome folk singer, and everyone should book him.
He's a dude.
On their radio shows, concerts, in studio, whatever's. He's a fantastic performer. And we also played a show with Midnight Harvest.
Mr. Folan.
Mr. Folan, Joe Folan's new-ish band. They did some great like jazz rock fusion type stuff. And who else have I been? Oh, I guess I'm just gonna replug Eleanor Electra because she's like honestly the only finger picker that I'm like truly, truly envious of. Yeah.
Got the chops.
Yep.
Who wants to go next?
You want to go?
No.
Okay, I'll go. Really like The Only Humans. Their first record rips, and I'm pretty sure they're gearing up to release some more stuff soon.
That's exciting.
Have you heard of them?
Only Humans? No.
Oh,
You will
you would
very much
love
enjoy
them.
Okay.
You'll like them a lot.
Primarily, it's acoustic guitar, violin, and bass with one main singer and they have harmony sometimes, but they've expanded to have drums and electric guitar recently.
It's very cool. It's very, very cool.
Absolutely, all of their songs are rippers. Also, Girl Scout Cookies they got some tunes. And then Runaway After Dark, they have a new single out.
My children.
Yeah, they just put out their first single and it unbelievable.
Yeah, they are young and they're doing it better than most of us. It's like,
yeah,
absolutely
they are.
The facts.
Yeah. I'll go next.
Now,
here's the thing. As I'm thinking about my list of people, 2 of them are like super out of state.
That's fine. That's allowed. That's the whole.
I have been listening a lot to the Grandma's Boys EP again because I miss them.
They're putting out an album soon too.
Yes,
from Kentucky.
I miss them, so
I
I've
do
been
too.
listening to them
guys.
a lot. I've also been listening to Tetchy is putting out an album next week.
Oh, so
and
good.
They have 2 songs on Spotify right now. They're some of the catchiest things I've ever heard, and they're also like really
Where are they
meaningful. They're from New York.
They're from like Brooklyn, I think.
Yeah.
Cool.
They're really awesome. And then, of course, at the beginning of the month, Brian Huntress put out Liberation, and I've been listening to that a lot also because I love Brian.
Brian rips.
That's
Brian rips.
Brian
really
rips. Bailey, you got some.
Yeah,
She's contemplating.
I've
She's
had
already
enough
just
time. I wanted it to be bands that like I hadn't already plugged 1,000 times. Because every time I talk about my favorite bands, it's like the same 4 bands. Right at the moment, Lilac Queen, who is very new and very up and coming on everybody's radar.
listen to our album review of Lilac Queen.
They dropped an EP on my birthday, which I was very excited.
Happy
That's
birthday.
like the best gift you could.
It was the best gift. And they're super insane. I find myself being in like a certain mood and I'm just like, this exact moment of my life could be better with Lilac in the background. So that's definitely a band. This is a little distancy. American Beauty, who's from New Jersey. If you're into anything remotely mathy, American Beauty does it beautifully. They dropped an EP in January and I immediately lost my 3rd one.
Very cool.
I'll call it Rasputin. I've been listening to a lot of Rasputin.
Dude.
We like Rasputin.
We
Yeah.
love Cam. Hi, Cam. Cam specifically.
Camden, you want to be on my show? We'll write some tunes together.
Camden, you want to play beer pong with me?
Hey, Camden.
Can I play beer pong with Camden?
Yeah, we can do all of us play beer pong with just Cam. Oh, Sunstained.
Sunstained.
I saw them play very recently, and they never come. Well, I'm Providence based, and they don't really come around here. So I was very excited to see them, and they played a Miley Cyrus cover.
Dude, I saw that.
Okay, so they started. So there's this one song that is like the song that everybody goes like ham to, and it's called Uranus. And they were like, "Yeah, we have one song left," and then ripped into a Miley Cyrus cover, and we were like. And then halfway through Miley Cyrus, they seamlessly transitioned into Uranus, and I was obsessed with it.
It was a party in the USA, right?
It was so good.
Nice.
Wow.
I've never seen such an aggressive pit.
Now that shit
Party in the
rips.
USA. Dude, it ripped. It did. Yeah, those are my recommendations.
All right. Well, in all of that, I hope, if nothing else, you guys have heard something that piqued your interest, but also makes you feel included. If you guys have any suggestions or any interest in any of it, please let us know. And I'm really, really excited to be doing this with a really, really good team and to see what we're going to find from it. I think that's it. So we'll see you next time around. And thank you for sharing your time with us.
Also, I'm in Rasputin. I'm not in Rasputin. No! I messed it up.
no,
I
so-
messed it up.
Do it again.
Cut
Do it
that.
again.
Cut that. Wait. Go silent. Go silent. Go silent. Go silent. Also, I'm in Bandicoot. Done.
There you go.